Okay, I've got a question. What do a trip to the 1950s, some sky-high kicks, and a family-run deli have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they're all key plot points in 2022's Holiday Spectacular. We've got a lot
Mm,
to talk about, Josh.
we do, Jennifer, and we will unwrap it all on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
If you like holiday movies from the classics to newbies, let's sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh. Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
And we begin this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch with some breaking news from News. As you may know, on our last episode, we issued a missing child alert for Charlie Brown, Jennifer's lawn decoration that suddenly vanished about a week ago. Early on, it seemed like a case of decor kidnapping, but Jennifer, I understand we have some new developments.
I'm glad you asked, Josh, and I'm very vulnerable talking about this, but
Mm,
this is a
mm.
safe place with our pod people. I we recorded the podcast. I was very concerned. I walked out the next morning and diagonally, the street across diagonally from us, under the truck, face down in the driveway, was a white figure. It was
Mm,
like a beacon of hope,
mm.
much like the star that the three wise men to baby Jesus. The sun hit it just right, and peeking out below the truck was my beloved Charlie Brown. Ah, it was just the wind.
It was just the wind. No crime was committed, just the wind. Well, thank you for the update, Jennifer. Do keep us posted. And this has been breaking news from News. Well, whew, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
No one has gotten a week of sleep. To be fair, it was under the truck. Okay, how could I have seen it before?
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Must have been a
Well,
very windy day, but I'm happy to report all five ice skaters
whew,
are back in place. They are staked in the ground, down to earth. So we have a lot of
this will
rock
not
in
happen again.
Tennessee. Okay, we have a lot of rock. And so they are staked in the ground. They have stones supporting them, which kind of messes up with my aesthetic, but it's worth it. So I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to chase them around again. Thoughts and prayers for the rest of the season because it's supposed to be a very wet week this week in Nashville. I don't know if there's more wind coming.
Yikes.
What if Peppermint Patty goes flying or Sally even? Huh,
Oh,
I can't even think
God
about it.
forbid. God forbid. Well, do us a favor, gang, and if you're listening this early in the podcast, go ahead and subscribe, like, review our podcast. Hey, this really helps us grow our audience, and that's what we're hoping to do is just build more of the community around what we're doing here on the podcast. And don't forget, Jennifer, we are all over the socials, aren't we?
We're everywhere. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. God help us. And if you ever need help finding us, just go. Everything is on the website. Just go to doyouwatchwhatIwatch.com. It's all there, including we also still have our movie clacker graphic that has the list of the movies, the remaining movies that we're going to watch this season. If you want to jump in and watch along with us, that would be
There you
great.
go. Yeah, perfect. Now, let's get down to business on this episode. Jennifer, will you give us the summary on this episode's movie?
I would love to. It's set in 1958, follows Maggie, who sneaks up to New York City to make her secret dream come true. Dancing live on stage in the Christmas Spectacular at Radio City Music Hall, putting her high society wedding plans on hold.
And this one had quite a bit of buzz going into the season, didn't it?
For a long time, a
Yeah.
very long time. I think I heard somewhere that they wrapped filming this right after Christmas last year. So the
Mm,
Christmas, I think it was on the Deck of the Hallmark podcast, actually, shout out. I think they said that they finished the 100 performances, and while it was still decorated at Radio City Music Hall, Hallmark swooped in and filmed the movie. So it's basically been filmed for a year, which is crazy because usually these movies film like a month ahead of time, maybe two
right. Yeah,
before they
exactly.
premiere. So this one's been in the hopper a long time. It's been marketed for a long time. Much hype built up.
And we will see if the hype was worth it. Let's just go ahead and stretch, get those legs ready to go as we prepare for our kick line in the second half. So, curtain up, and legitimately, the curtain is up here. We are at Radio City Music Hall as we start this one. And Grandma, we come to find out, played by Ann-Margret, is coaching her granddaughter who is auditioning for the role of Clara at Radio City Music Hall. Now, Jennifer, have you ever seen the Holiday Spectacular?
I've seen it in Nashville. We saw it
Mm-hmm.
at the Grand Ole Opry House twice. I think I've seen it with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Once, my dad opened a goo goo cluster, and part of the cluster flew off into the blue haired lady's hairdo in front of us. And we kind of did this, like, what do I do? And didn't want to interrupt her. So we just left it. And we figured that next Tuesday she'll go for her regular hairdo. And somebody will be like, Mabel, where have you
Mabel?
been? There's
Jeez.
some goo goo in your hair. But yes, it's delightful. And
It is.
I was surprised to learn that basically the show's been the same the entire run of it. I thought
Mm-hmm.
surely they've added, I mean, I guess they added one song recently, but that's really been about it. It's been the same
Yeah,
ever since it started.
my understanding is they make just some slight tweaks here and there, take a number out, add a number in, maybe change a costume or two, but it's pretty much bread and butter, the same it's been for all these years. So,
Now, have you seen the performance live, Josh?
yes, I have. I've actually seen it in Nashville as well. And I am going in just 2 weeks to New York City, taking my daughter to go see it at Radio City. So stay
How
tuned.
exciting will
We
that
are
be?
excited. Yes.
Oh my
So
gosh. Cannot
we
wait.
are at Radio City Music Hall when all of this starts, as I said, and we get Ann-Margret. She's helping her granddaughter get set for the audition. The girl is obviously scared. And so Grandma says, well, I can tell you the whole story now. So we get early on that Grandma has history with the
She's a
Rockettes,
little
and
like Rose on the Titanic.
very much so. Very much
It's been
so.
84 years.
It's been such a long time. Anyway, so we flash back to Philadelphia in 1957, and this young woman named Margaret is supposed to marry this guy named Maxwell, who seems like a total dud. Like, it's a society wedding, it's a
Yeah.
arranged marriage through and through. She doesn't even know him, and she asks him what brings him joy, but he doesn't even know what her middle name is. So it's just like these two are not meant for each other.
Very surface level, very much a society status,
Yeah, it's
arranged marriage type of
kind of
situation.
gross, and Mom is really, really excited about it, and it's just not a good
It's icky.
fit.
Yeah.
It's icky. Cut to dance class, and Margaret is there, and her teacher invites her to auditions for the Rockettes. And out of nowhere, 3 minutes later, she lands it. So it's like, you're going to be a Rockette. Okay.
You're gonna be a star.
You're going to be a star, baby. Yeah. Anyway. So she instantly has this whole problem where she has to get to New York City now, even though her mom's like, what are you doing? So she concocts this whole story that she's going to go to New York City to go dress shopping and to do society things in New York City because she has a good friend there named Kitty, which I thought was just perfect for a 1950s friend in New York City, right? Kitty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kitty in the city.
Yeah. So she gets to New York City and she meets Rose, who is this sassy apartment manager. She bumps into a Navy photographer on the sidewalk outside of the apartment. Spoiler, this is John, who is going to be the male lead in the film. And she also bumps into her own sense of privilege because she can't find anyone to take her baggage upstairs for her. So we get early on that she is going to be fish out of water, having to learn how to be a real person, not having everyone take care of her.
I don't know about you, but I've never been physically bumped into anyone who wasn't trying to steal something from me.
No.
Like, not my heart either. Like,
There is so
people just
much.
the meet cutes where it's physically they're bumping into one another.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's just
Oh.
so, yeah, literally bumping into each other. It's just
Yeah, I
bizarre
did
to me.
enjoy Rose. I wrote down that she was a pistol, the apartment manager. She gave me Carol Burnett vibes, though, a
I
little
thought
bit.
the
Like,
exact same thing. Yeah,
I
very
wanted
much
more
so.
Rose.
I wanted more
will never
Rose.
turn down more Rose.
She had some
Basically.
good one-liners in this movie too. She's
Mhm.
the one where she said, "Well, I'm Jewish, so I don't care."
Yeah.
About the Christmas.
And she likes a
celebration.
corned beef sandwich. Yeah,
Loves a
that's
corned
funny.
beef. Who doesn't? Yeah. Anyway, Sophia is going to be her roommate, and Margaret, who now is going to call herself Maggie, she meets veteran Rockette Alice, who is sort of like the RA, if you will, the resident advisor for all of these Rockettes in the 1950s, and Janet, who is super frosty out of the gate.
Janet from Ohio, clinic.
Janet from Ohio. She's a whiz. Anyway, so cut to Radio City Music Hall. She walks on stage day one and is in awe. She does the googly eyes looking out at the audience. It's very sort of sweet. First day rehearsals are totally brutal. And when she's done, she wants a sandwich. And so she goes to a deli where, shocker, of course, the Navy photographer is, John. They make small talk and they flirt over fruit. It turns out that John's family, John's parents, actually own this little deli / market that they run into.
It's a good person to know.
Yeah, exactly. So she goes to bed after glancing at her ring and questioning her engagement. So we get early on that she's not feeling this engagement and may want out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
We get a rehearsal montage, which I was pretty excited about. I mean, I like a
showed a
baking
lot of it,
montage,
yeah.
but there was a lot of dancing, and I thought it was pretty convincing.
Yeah, I liked when they said that there's 78 seconds to change from the toy soldier outfit to the Times Square outfit. That is crazy.
I thought it was a fun tidbit of a fact, and having seen that show, that's legitimately what they have. They don't have much time to do these things. It's
It's wild.
amazing. Anyway, so she calls home and she tells a fib to stay longer. So she's sort of spinning this tapestry of lies with her family so she can stay in New York City. She winds up bonding with the other Rockettes over dessert and some sad stories. It turns out that Sophia's twin sister died, and so Sophia's there in New York to sort of continue the legacy. I really liked that they were building out the backstories of these other Rockettes. So this wasn't just about her going to New York and finding love. This was
Mhm.
about her finding herself and finding friends in the process. I really appreciated that. Anyway, she gets her first paycheck. She's super proud of herself, even though it's just no money whatsoever. She goes shopping and she runs into John, of course. They just love to put these two in the same place at the same time, don't they? Yeah.
Shouldn't he be working at the deli?
You would think. Anyway, they talk about the future. And it turns out that Maggie is going to get to dance in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And her mom maybe sees her, question mark, while watching the parade. Turns out she's going to go for a quiet walk to take in the city late at night after the parade. And what do you know? Runs into John literally again.
In a red pea coat.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Or a dress coat, at least. Red
Well,
formal
you know,
wear, outerwear.
as red pea coat as one could get probably in the 1950s.
Right.
Oh,
It was nice
sidebar.
looking.
Forgot to mention, while she's out shopping, she decides that she loves this toy soldier pin that she sees at Gimbel's. But it costs $26 and she doesn't have $26 to buy it. But spoiler, John takes note of that. So they want you to know that.
Yeah,
So
she
stay
also
tuned.
learned what layaway is.
Which I thought was really sweet. You know,
She never been to Kmart Blue Light Specials and
Right.
layaway. She doesn't know about that life.
those of us who grew up with layaway are like, I could tell you a few things about
I could use
layaway.
some layaway this year. Can we bring that
Honestly,
back?
right?
I guess
Seems
it's like
like it's
Afterpay now.
it
Yeah.
seems like layaway is really quite fiscally responsible if you think about it, because you're just paying a little bit and then you get to
Yeah.
take it home, right? Yeah.
Layaway all of it. Yep.
There you go. Anyway, so John offers to take her around the city. They flirt and they dance in the snow to the first Noel, which I didn't really think was very much of a good first dance kind of song, but I mean, I'll let it slide. It was kind of sweet.
All these movies love these romantic moments with like Silent Night, Oh Holy Night. Like
Yeah,
those are
right?
church songs, guys. Like I
Not
guess it's because
romantic.
they're slower and you can do a tinkly piano bit, but
I think it's also because
on.
they're in the public domain and they don't want to pay for other songs that
Very
they might
true.
need to, right? Yeah.
In case anybody's wondering, Do You Hear What I Hear is not public domain.
Hence the reason it is not part of our theme song. The more you know.
Doo-doo-doo. That's okay. Nick did a banging up job for our theme
Yes,
song. It's
we
better.
love it. We love it.
It's perfect.
Hey, cut to opening night. So all of a sudden, here we go. It's showtime, and it is a huge success. After the show, the boys, so John and a couple of his buddies, including some guys that are flirting with the other Rockettes that live with Maggie, they deliver a Christmas tree and some snacks. John, again, he's a photographer, and he has taken some photos to share when she asks him what brings him joy. So this is this really sweet moment where she asks him the same question that she has asked her fiance back home. Now, mind you, John doesn't know about the fiance. Ugh. She's not
He
been
said in
forthcoming
the
about it.
or at Gimbel's earlier um that she was seeing someone back home.
Yes, but she
They
doesn't.
never discussed the committedness of it all.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, Kitty shows up to the show and is like, "Girl, you've got to tell your family the truth." And she's like, "I will at some point." Hmm.
Yeah. Well, and Kitty's feelings are hurt too because she's basically using her. Kitty's having
Mm-hmm.
to do all this cover-up work,
Mm-hmm.
and she's not even seeing her at all. She's not even hanging out with her. So I
No,
would feel a little used and abused if I were Kitty as well.
I certainly would too. John and his folks show up to the show and they talk about chasing dreams, which, there's a lot of that kind of talk in this movie. It's all about
Mhm.
her sort of finding herself in her dreams. She calls Maxwell, and I wrote, he is dry toast and a wet blanket.
Yeah. No butter, no jelly, no
No
nothing.
butter, no juddy. He's just sawdust. Anyway, John shows up and they go to see the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, which we are also going to go see and go skating in front of when we're in New York City. So stay tuned for those pictures on Instagram.
Can't wait.
Yes. And soon thereafter, Maggie's parents show up to New York City and she has to spin this wild web of half truths to try to cover herself. So it's all kind of falling apart for her right now.
Yeah, for sure.
John tells his parents about his dreams because he really wants to go pursue photography full time, and his parents really want him to take over the deli. So there's sort of this whole he can't pursue his dream thing going on, similar to her story as well, which kind of bonds them throughout.
Mhm.
It does not go well when he tells his parents what he wants to do, and it's sort of a bummer of a scene. You sort of feel sad for him in the process.
Yeah, for sure.
Maggie goes to dinner with her parents, and this is, woo, boy howdy. This
Before we
is,
boy howdy, can we go back to she went to rehearsal late
oh
because she was
yes.
trying to like do the performance and then go back and see her parents and all this stuff, and she
Hmm.
bumps into the teacher or the dance
Choreographer.
instructor,
Yeah.
whatever. And he gave her like two cheesy cliche lines about, you're gonna be fine, you got what it takes, da 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 da. And it changes her life. And he's like, I got a swing to cover for you. Go take care of whatever you need to take care of. That bothered me. I just feel like it was not him
Yeah.
in general. His character in general kind of bothered me. I felt like he was too soft.
I thought he was way too soft too. I have a
Yeah, I've
feeling.
never been in a dance troupe, but I feel like it was supposed to be like reality
Yeah,
would have been a little tougher love.
I think so too. But again, this is Hallmark, the 1950s. Yeah, it had to be a little soft. I think she needed him to be supportive, probably, because
With her lying and getting caught.
yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. Get in your gob and go
Yeah.
dance the high kicks.
Yeah, exactly. Figure this out on your own time, not on the company's. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so she goes to dinner, this very fancy dinner with her parents, and she downs a stiff drink, and whoops, he presents her tickets to go see the Radio City Rockettes at dinner because he says, I know that you just love the Rockettes and love dancing. And she has this moment where she has to basically be like, I'm in the show.
Sorry. Yeah.
Exactly. And he is surprised and she breaks up with him and she tells her parents and they are awful to her in
I
this
thought we were gonna have to
moment.
get the smelling salts out for her mom. And she was like, oh Lord.
The pearl clutching, when I tell you, it was
Yeah.
there was that moment.
Audible
Yeah.
gasps abound.
And Dad was so disappointed. He disappears. We don't see him again in this entire movie because he's so mad about all of it.
I really don't do he gone.
Nope, never see Dad again. He's gone.
He's going back to Philadelphia. He's
Yep.
drowning his sorrows in a cheesesteak.
Yeah. Oof. And so after this, she then tells John the whole shebang that she's engaged to this guy back in Philadelphia out of convenience and society more than anything. And that doesn't go well either. So it's kind of not looking great for Maggie in this moment.
Well, also I thought it was weird. He's mad that she lied about being rich. And earlier, we didn't even talk about how her friends took her to the diner and had an intervention with her because they're like, "We know you're loaded." And
Yeah.
that was a stretch too. Like, mind your business. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Mind your business, but yeah, it was kind of awkward that everyone had such a problem with her being wealthy because she didn't really flaunt her wealth very
No, not at
much.
all.
Well, initially when she expected someone to take her bags up to the room, yes, but beyond that,
She
not a
got
whole
over it
lot.
pretty quick. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's weird.
exactly. Because I think she really wanted to be treated like everybody else, right? That was her
Hmm.
whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Maggie and the girls, her Rockette friends, cry over pie at a diner, and they also cry over the value of their friendship. And at this point, the girl who was super frosty early on, Janet, has really softened, and she starts talking about the value of friendship and the whole 9 yards, blah, blah, blah.
Well, and Alice, the kind of the RA, as you called her, was it?
Hmm.
Yes, has kind of come to the realization she won't be able to dance again next season. This is her last hoorah
Hmm.
because of age and just what it does, the toll it takes on your body.
I've
That was sad.
heard, I've heard that the average lifespan for a Rockette is 8 to 10 years. That's really what your
That seems
body
like
will
a
let you
long
do.
time.
It seems like a long time, but
'Cause they do 100 shows a year, I think it said, or
yeah,
season.
yeah, it's
Week.
crazy. And they have got multiple casts, of course, but it's brutal on the body for sure from a training perspective. Anyway, John's mom, who is super sweet, I didn't realize that she's Eve Plum from the Brady Bunch. Did you know that?
I saw her name in the credits.
Yeah.
And then I forgot. And then I didn't even in the deli scenes, it didn't register. And then at the
No.
end, I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Good for her.
Jan.
Anyway, I know Jan talks some sense into Maggie's mom, and Alice gets a job with the Rockettes sort of as a dance captain. So she gets to stay around, which is really kind of a sweet scene.
Mhm.
And this all sort of gets yada yada a little bit kind of at the end because she finishes out the season. Maggie does. She gets the pin from John, and it
He
turns out
apologizes
he
and they're all good
apologizes. They
again.
have this moment on the stage after the final performance at Radio City. They smooch. It's going to be them as a couple. And then flash forward, we're back at Radio City, and Maggie is giving that same pin to her granddaughter before she goes to audition for Clara. And who toodles out on stage but John, who is now as old as sweet Maggie is, and they kiss on stage, which I just thought was like so sweet that they did
It
that
was
that
cute. And the
way.
way they kind of intertwined the cuts of the 50s kiss and then the current kiss, that was cute.
Yeah, I thought it was a great finish to this film.
Okay, it's time for our gold or coal segment where we each give 3 gifts. If there's more gold, it's flawless form. And if it's more coal, it's falling flat. And if it's a tie, it's just a Merry Christmas. Josh, coming to you first.
So I'm going to give some gold out of the gate here. I loved the costumes. I loved the scenery. It felt very 1950s. I think they did a great job of sort of embracing that whole time period, and I bought it. I thought it felt very authentic to the 1950s.
Absolutely. My first thing will be some gold for the dance routines.
Mm,
They didn't skimp on that. We got a lot of dancing. And I really think, I mean, they showed at least a clip of every big moment I can remember in that show, like the toy soldier bit and the New York City bit and all of that. So I was very happy to see that. More
same
dancing
here.
always.
More dancing. I thought it was really a good showcase of the Rockettes for sure. My second piece of gold is going to be for Jenna Claire Mason, who played Maggie. I believe this is her first foray into these types of movies, right?
I think so.
And I
Mhm.
think she did just a wonderful job. Now, she is a Broadway actress and was in Wicked, and she
Mhm.
didn't really hitch her wagon to singing at all in
Yeah.
this, which could have been the natural thing they did with her. This was like straight acting, and I thought it was believable. She was believable as a Rockette. Yeah, they did some fancy editing for some of these kick line things because she's
Yeah.
not kicking actually, but I mean, it overall worked and was believable, and I thought she did a great job.
I will give some coal. I feel like I liked this movie. I did not love this movie. It's not
Mm,
my number one of the season or anything.
mm,
And I think it's been bothering me because I was very excited about it. But I think what it was at the heart of it is there was so much effort and emphasis on the costumes and the dancing and the sets that I feel like the story just fell a little flat for me. Like I feel like I wasn't super invested in any of the characters. I don't feel like they really went too deep with most of them, and it just fell a little flat for me.
Yeah, I see that. They could have done more around that relationship with her parents, if they
Mhm.
wanted to, or his relationship with his parents. They could have deepened some of that stuff to add in a little bit more
Yeah.
conflict. That's a good point. Yeah. My last gift is going to be gold. I really appreciated that they added in this subplot with these Rockette characters and didn't just use the Rockettes as props, right? Because that
Hmm.
could have been the tendency here to just kind of have her dancing with the Rockettes and then off doing her thing with John and then off doing more
Right.
Rockette dancing and then back with John. But they actually went into the camaraderie and the tradition and the friendships and the
Sisterhood and all of
sisterhood and
that.
all of
Yeah,
that. Yeah. And I like that.
that was very nice. I think for my last piece of whatever, it's gonna be coal. I'm
Hmm.
sorry.
It's okay.
I think there was zero conflict other than I know she was disappointing her parents, but like it came so easy. Like you said, she auditioned once on a whim with her friend and she got it. They did great their first performance. Like there was no real, and it's a time thing. They couldn't really show them failing. That's not really fun to watch at Christmas either, I guess. But it was all too easy and too sweet for me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ma'am
She
gave
didn't
it.
really struggle to pick up the choreography or
No,
have,
or even to fit in. I mean, her only thing was that
yeah.
she took too long getting ready one day, and the girls were like, "Hey, you took all the hot water." That was it.
Hmm.
And then after that, everybody's just accepting of her, even though she's rich. And it just kind of was a little too smooth for me.
Makes perfect sense. So, bottom line, it was 4 gold, 2 coal. Overall, we think it's probably worth your time. We're going to call it a flawless form. I don't know if it met my expectations fully, but I still
Mhm.
thought, Jennifer, this was a fun watch. It was a good one. It was kind of a unique story to see on Hallmark.
For sure. And it's a good movie. I mean, I think it's one of the really good ones that Hallmark has put out this year, and it will probably be one that they show continually for years to come.
Hmm.
Just there was something just not it didn't quite hit for me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
But that's
And I also
that's
liked Ann-Margret
mm,
too. I thought she was fun to see.
hmm. Yeah,
I
I wish we
like
saw
it.
her more a little bit, but
Yeah. I like when we see actresses and actors who have some credibility and have been in the business for a long time and they sort of lend some legitimacy to what they're trying to do. I liked it.
exactly. And that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
A special thanks to Nick Schwartz for our theme song, of course, to you for listening. Hey, if you like our podcast, be sure to review, subscribe, and perhaps most importantly, tell a friend. It's that time of year. Be generous. We are also on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok at Do You Watch What I Watch? So give us a follow. Be sure to leave us a comment. We want to hear from you. What are you watching? What are you liking? What are you not liking? Let us know. You can also connect with us on our website at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com.
That's right. Next time we've got a new one. I think this is our first Lifetime movie this season. Is that right?
It is.
It is A New Orleans Noel. Here's the lowdown from IMDb. Follows Grace and Anthony, who, despite having gone to college to study architecture together, are too different. But things between them change after both are hired to work on the same place and end up celebrating Christmas together. We will have much to discuss, and until then,
May your days be merry and bright. We will catch you next time.